Alright, everyone. Here we are, another installment of the Wombatster Monster. Tonight, I have a special treat for you, if all goes well. Right now, I'm trying to print a Roman Gladius. This is actually attempt number 2 to print this, or something like this. I downloaded a free STL of one yesterday, put it on my SD card, sliced it up, put it on my SD card, and then tried to print it. Did not come out very well. The STL file was not quite right because it just didn't really print. It printed very unevenly. There was no coherent, even layering. It was just very odd, and then it failed because also it had a hilt, which I kind of knew it would fail going into it, but I wanted to just give it a shot and see what happened. And it did fail because once it hit the hilt, there was like a 90-degree overhang, which I knew would cause it to print in air. And it ended up tilting it and just not printing. So there's a pretty crummy time-lapse video of that failing. But now I have redesigned this one in 123D on my own, specifically on my own to make sure, because I felt more confident the file would be much better. I printed 2 or 3 files so far. For example, I just finished this one. This is the shape plate in Hatchbox Blue PLA. I like the Hatchbox so far. I mean, I've only got a few. Again, this camera's not very quality, but few issues on some of the layers, but not much. Even the roofing part, if you look closely, it thins slightly in there, but very little. And if you look, what I really like is if you can see the flat base. Look at how the layers are. Just there's a little bit above this middle pyramid that is kind of scuffy, which I think is from my settings because that was like this, and the fan is over here blowing this way. So I think perhaps that had something to do. It almost like causes ripples. I noticed it happened in a few of the layers. It even happened on this first shape plate as well, but as you can see, it is much worse. I printed this. This was the partial shape plate. I ran out of the black plastic trying to do this one, Aurora and black PLA. And you can see some of the same rippling issues right around here. But if you look in the background, it's very grainy and very coarse, and even the back base below the shapes, I know it didn't finish, but that layer was done. It's just very low quality. And this is much nicer. So I think my settings are finally coming in a little bit, and also I think so far the Hatchbox plastic seems to be quite nice. I'll even show you zoom back here a little bit. So this was the test print that was sent to me. It's Bender head, obviously, in Aurora Blue PLA. Whoop. Sorry, timeout. So that's the Bender in the Aurora Blue. If you'll notice, right over here, there's a relatively large gash that came from the print, and underneath on the base, again, it's a low quality camera, so it's hard to tell, but this big gash area here. And then some spots in the back. But overall, it's a pretty decent print. And this was the one that was printed by them with my printer and sent to me. And this is in the Hatchbox here, right here. Now, as you can see, the base came out quite nice. A little scuff spot, but not a tear or nothing major. The line, just a small line, not a big gouge. And just all the layering is much nicer. And the color itself, this is probably much more in the filament, is much more vibrant. Now, again, I don't know if I'm matching, the same blue to blue, or if it's probably might just be a different shade. But the Hatchbox has a really nice shine to it. I like it. Like I said, it printed smooth and printed pretty easy and with very little artifacting or issues. So anyway, and like I said, showed you the shape plate was, again, I don't know if I could call that, on the plastic or on my printer itself, but came out far superior to the black one in my opinion. So now, as you can see, we've got some layers going down here. So basically, I'm printing the sword vertically. There's a couple reasons I'm doing this. One, because I want to make it a little longer and taller, and I have a 13-inch height as opposed to a 10-inch by 10 inch width, and even if I went kind of on the vertical or on the diagonal here, I'd still only get an extra inch, maybe inch and a half, and that just wasn't enough for me. It needed all 13 inches, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it vertically. Another reason is supports. I don't have any of my software set up yet. I'm still just basically using Slicer, free Slicer, and files I'm whipping up in 123D like this. I literally built it in like half an hour. I changed the hilt, the style of the hilt, because again, like I said, the other one had a hilt with a very steep, sharp overhang, 90-degree pretty much, and I knew the printer wasn't going to succeed. So this time I kind of did the same hilt, but I flipped it upside down. So now there's sort of like a much more gradual, I don't even know if it's more, I think it's about 45, I think I set it about 45 degrees. No, actually I think it's less. I think it's more like, if I say this right, but it is not as, sorry, it's late and I'm getting tired. It's not wider than, as wide as 45 degrees. It's less. It's more like 37 degrees probably. And so I don't think the printer will have a problem with it. Again, these shapes that you just saw on the shape plate they just printed, they're all hollow. So actually on the inside there, it's printing against some pretty decent angles, similar to what I'm going to be asking of it to do on this sword's hilt. And then if it can print the hilt and keep that, then okay, so I didn't print it, also didn't print it horizontally because I wasn't able to find a way to easily implement a raft for a raft support in Slicer anywhere, or even in my 123D. There may be one, but again, I'm new to this, so I wasn't able to find one easily. So I just figured this might require less support as long as it manages to stay balanced. I built it like, you can see this is like a half circle here as the base. It's 1.5 inches or so. And then the handle is going to be approximately 3.5 to 4 inches. It's all just a straight up column. It'll branch out a little bit for the hilt, but again, not very much. And then it'll go back in and do the blade. So I'm feeling pretty confident right now. Look, it looks like it's laying down nice layers, as you can see. It's going to probably hopefully have some good adherence to the bed, so if it does get kind of nudged a little bit when it's doing the edges of the hilt, it doesn't come undone here. I've also found that this hatchbox seems to like a slightly higher temperature, more in the neighborhood of like 70, 75 for the bed and like 210 for the nozzle. When I was a little lower than that, especially I tried to do the bed at 50 on one print and it failed. And again, the nozzle I had at 200 or 205, and I just wasn't getting adherence, and it wasn't flowing. It was coming out almost firm, so this PLA just seems to need a little bit of a higher temperature. But I gotta say, overall, it seems to be a nice quality plastic. So I'm excited. I'm already gonna order. I think I already put in an order for some wood PLA, and I'm probably gonna get some black or silver PLA for another roll just to play, because it's only $20-something, $22, $23, which is a good price for. From what I can tell, it's already got me a couple nice prints, and I still think I have at least, it's kind of hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure I have at least half the roll left still. Hopefully more than that. And after this sword's going to take a fair amount of plastic, but again, we'll cross your fingers. Let's hope it finishes nicely. I'm going to go to time-lapse mode. Thanks, guys, for watching, and wish me luck. Good night.